Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for watching. My name is William. I'm the builder. I wouldn't call myself a developer behind LumiBee, which is a project and task management solution for Tana. Pretty much from the get-go, I have loved Tana for its ability to just jot down information anywhere, and I've come to use it for many things in my life, including task management, including project management. And over months, maybe even years, I've built a system that is really helping me to keep track of a lot of things that I work on. Now, as Tana is moving towards templates, I thought it was time for me to sort of wrap my project and task management system into a Tana app or a Tana template and put that out into the world. That is called LumiBee, as luminous for the stars, and bees because I really like bees. They're super funny creatures, and they obviously work very hard, which is somewhat, well, it's instilled in this thing, right? The template should enable you to do a bunch of things or a lot of things, which means that you work hard, but you want to retain control of everything that you're doing. So the purpose of this video is to provide you a in-depth look at what the template contains, so you can make a better educated decision on whether this one for you or not. So I'm not going to start with the onboarding, but instead I'm going to start with the building blocks and take it from there. So there's a bunch of super tags in this one. There is areas, development items, there's domains, there's meetings, persons, projects, tasks, and recurring tasks. Let me start at the absolute top. So at the absolute top is the domain, and the domain is static. You can't change that, or well, you can change it, but it's not a dynamic thing that, as in that you can add as many domains as you'd like. I have chosen to separate my life in sort of home and work, or switch work on, switch work off, and any areas that you subsequently create are connected to a domain. So if we go to the example content and we go to the example domains, there's just two domains here. You can in theory create more. It's just home and work, and frankly they don't do anything in particular. It's just basically a placeholder for that. What you see subsequently is that any area that you create, in this case physical health, it is connected to a domain. As simple as that, and subsequently it has a status either active or archived. Now the interesting thing over here is that you can see that an area can hold or will hold any of its active projects as well as any of its active tasks, meaning that you can connect tasks to both projects as well as to areas for those tasks that don't really have a project to work on. You can look at upcoming projects and you can look at completed projects. Back to the building blocks, or to the super tags. So we spoke about the domain, we spoke about the areas. Next, in the level of hierarchy in terms of project and task management, there's projects. Projects are always bound to an area. I mean, simple as that. We'll look into some example areas in a bit. And next, we have recurring tasks, we have tasks, whereas recurring tasks are essentially extending tasks, so they rely on the same, they're the same base type, and 80% of the fields in the recurring task is coming from the task super tag. There's a little tweak there that you need for recurring tasks. Both of them, as said before, can be connected to either a project or directly to an area. One thing to highlight is the dev items. Every now and then I find myself developing software or basically creating somewhat of a pipeline, and I thought it could be useful to add dev items to a project, right? A project can have tasks and it can have dev items, and you want those separated. So the dev items can be connected to a project, and in a project you can choose to activate and therefore visualize dev items or not. and I'll show that to you in a bit. So these are the super tags. Meeting in person, I kept those super light, precisely because you probably already have those in your Tana environment, and you actually need to merge these super tags with your existing meeting in person super tags. That's for the super tags. Let's move on to the commands. There's a bunch of commands built in. I'm not gonna talk you through all of them, but most of them are pretty much self-explanatory. They all come with little icons, and they do certain things with regards to tasks, with regards to recurring tasks, complete and reschedule. Hey, built-in recurring tasks. You can change priorities, and you can move your dev items from one status to another. That's essentially the commands that are built in. And then finally, let's look at some of the example content. So we talked about the domains. We looked at areas. So if we zoom into a project, let's look at this one. This is a project. It comes with certain dimensions, so to say, being a parent area, a project status, a start date and an end date, which comes from Tiago Forti. In this one, if you click on this one, it has dev items activated. It's very simple to hide it, and it shows up as a block of related content in the bottom. So here's your project backline from a dev item perspective, and you can scroll through that one. There's open tasks, there's completed tasks, there's project meetings. So any, in this case, the kickoff meeting, the meeting is also attached to a related project. And in this case, it's the Build Brilliant Software project. One of the funny things that I did in here is, and I realized that's a command that I haven't actually included in the command structure. I'll probably do that in a future version, but just know that the command is there. You have a button that says Build Project Report. And this command will look at everything inside the project, and it will spit out a status update that you can use. So I ran this one a couple of weeks ago, and here you go. This is what it gives you on the back of all of the updates in the project, which is super powerful, because especially in a team environment where all of your team members are doing stuff on this particular project, and if you need to provide an update to senior management, you just push that button and boom, off you go. All right, back to projects, tasks. Look, we all have tasks. It's not, this is not a miracle here. There's priorities here, there's statuses here. You can assign them, and then subsequently, you can do all kinds of funny things in your one-on-one app. There's recurring tasks, which are, like I said, essentially an extension of normal tasks, with the one thing that they have a recurrence, and then there's an extra command here where you say complete and reschedule. So that works. There's example meetings. Again, I kept that super light. There is dev items, and there's example people. I think all pretty much self-explanatory. Subsequently, I built what I would call app structure. So these pages are for you to sort of link to your sidebar, and they come with overviews, right? Active areas, your home areas, your work areas, things like that. The same for projects, and the same for tasks. So there's a ton of content, ton of views. It is basically really ready to go from the get-go. The moment you install this, there's it's not just a template. There's example content in place, and which is subsequently also a matter of just get it, delete it, off you go, and then you create your own stuff. And in order to make that process as seamless as possible, I did create an onboarding flow. Here we go. So it sort of explains basically what I'm telling you right now as well. But including a couple of text steps that you can sort of check off, and then if you're done, then you should be good to go. And that's it. In a very few minutes, that is LumiBee version 0.2. I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are. More than happy to take any feedback, and let me know. All right, thanks. Have a good day.